Welcome back to Epic Talks. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. From the Bible to the boardroom to the bedroom to the bank account. Now, what do I mean by that? Family, when I say from the Bible, I mean that there are principles, wisdom, strategy, and those of us who lead our lives by faith, we believe that the most reliable source of information is not Google. The most reliable source of information is the Bible. That's our take on things. So that means if we are going to learn and grow in our faith, that the Bible is essential. So we want to grow in that area. And there are conversations we have, questions we have, like what they mean when they wrote that. Two, when I say to the boardroom, I am just simply using it as a euphemism to explain the importance of our purpose, our careers, our businesses, our professional life. There are conversations we got about that. What economically, financially, we all busting moves, writing books, doing things, whether it's our main gig, side gig, promotion. So there's conversations surrounding that. Two, when I say the bedroom family, I'm talking about intimate relationships. I am not getting in your business of what goes down in in the bedroom. I'm simply talking about relationships that are intimate to us because you don't invite perfect strangers into your bedroom. Well, you don't invite perfect strangers into the intimate parts of your life. So we're talking about your close friends, your family, your boo, your bae, your husband, your wife. So you might see interviews. You might see we bring in experts that's their specialty. You might see mental health counselors, relationship counselors, etc., that we bring on to Epic Talks. Last but not least, to the bank account, because your finances are important to you. So if you're talking about it, we're talking about it. From the boardroom, from the Bible to the boardroom to the bedroom to the bank account. Epic Talks. Well, today I'm excited because different conversation I've got to have with you today of this whole idea. If I were to call it anything, Control Alt Delete. Like, at what point do we create a hard reset? You know, if you're on a laptop and it is not working, it's malfunctioning, and you're trying to figure out, yo, how do I get this thing to stop buzzing, beeping? The pinwheel is just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning on your laptop. You finally will try to pull a Control Alt Delete to do a hard reset, or you'll just hold down the power button. Where our lives are not as simple as a laptop computer, but there are moments where it seems like life is just spinning and spinning, decisions and opportunities, and weeks or days are turning into weeks, weeks turning into months, and it seems like we're in a cycle of trying to get answers to things that are not readily available. So I want to see if we can create some strategy surrounding when do we work, when do we rest, how do we create balance in our lives to kind of get a hard reset to make sure that we don't come unglued mentally and emotionally. I always say that you are one person for every task and for all the people and things in your life. But all those things aren't always enough for the one person to refuel you. And what I'm learning about myself is I'm trying to come to grips with creating a replenishment or a rest or relaxation schedule, right? Don't it sound weird that you would have to schedule relaxation? But yeah, you do. Because you get so caught up and no one has to tell you to work. Bill's going to tell you that. No one has to tell you to work, where even if you are financially free, there it's tied into purpose and your team, or if you've got payroll. Like for myself, I have a few different companies in my education company. We've got over 20 employees. So payroll is going to tell me we need to create some revenue. And sometimes our body tells us and we ignore whatever it is that our body is telling us. So today we're going to have a deep discussion surrounding this whole Control Alt Delete. When do we press the hard reset button, and how do we schedule rest? And I figured, well, who's the best person to look at if we're trying to is it a book that we should read? If we're trying to get a picture of how to create balance and productivity, like this is the real thought. Like, how do we create the highest quality of productivity and make sure that we still create a pattern of rest, relaxation? Remember, rest is not always sleeping, right? So rest comes in many forms, and we'll unpack that in a second. So how do we create that? I figured the best person to look at is the most productive person I have ever found in any book that I've ever read. Who's the most productive person I've ever read about? God. There's no one more productive than God. You're talking about somebody who created an entire world, humanity, plants, sky, ground, water, vegetation in 7 days. He did a whole lot in a week. So there's no better person to study than to study God and creation in the book of and the Bible. And in chapter 1 and 2, when it comes to Genesis, I'm like, how'd you do all that fast? So we see this pattern of high levels of productivity, high levels of focus, and we also see that he's scheduled within his week rest. Well, let's unpack it and kind of see what he did on day one. He created the light. He created the light. Now, this is powerful, right? Because we see this level of intentionality. And if I were to give you a point before we walk through all the days, or let's just walk through the days. Day one, he created the light. Day two, he created the atmosphere. The atmosphere. Day three, he created plants and the ground, or some would say land and seas and plants and trees. All right, that rhymes. Day four, he created the sun, the moon, the stars. Day five, he created the creatures. Day six, he created man, right? And day seven, he rested. Now, I do see a pattern, something that you could write down. I do see a pattern already. I started noticing that in the creation narrative, we see this balance between what God forming something and then God filling something. I'll say it again. God forming something and then God filling something. We see that he forms the sky and then he fills the sky. He forms the ground and then he fills it with man. He forms the sea and then he fills it with fish. Why is that important for us? Because I think sometimes that life all runs in together and we don't take time to focus on one thing. We're juggling multiple tasks. And I like what I found is God gave his undivided attention to each thing he was doing, right? So forming a thing, I think, is to take the raw resources of something and mold it into the fullness of what it can become. So my question to you would be, are you maximizing your potential? And when I say that, I'm not talking about where you take every area of your life and say you want to improve in everything. You're not going to improve every area of your life at one time. But I am talking about if you say, hey, I just want to focus on forming a healthy morning routine, right? Let's just say you're forming that. You form the healthy routine and then you fill it with the priorities of what task goes where. If you say, I want to form healthy relationships, and then you fill it with the people that should be there. But if you try to fill it and form it at the same time, you always end up having to delete, backspace, start over, reject, and life gets very blurry when you don't know what goes where. The only way that you know what fits and what you should fill your life with is if you form it first, where you get clear on the fact that let there be firmament above, firmament beneath. That means you've divided and brought separation and clarity. Now you know once you formed it, what goes where. So let me ask you, are you forming healthy life patterns? Are you forming a healthy thought process? Are you forming a healthy routine? Are you forming a healthy diet? What are you forming in your life? Have you formed a healthy spiritual practice? Forming healthy things in your life tells you what to fill it with. You see, that's a beautiful pattern of productivity that I find from the most productive person that I've ever met, which, right? The most productive person ever, which is God, or Jesus too. 3.5 years. Look at what he accomplished. The most productive person to ever live. Okay. So for point number one, I would say, make sure that the point and the premise that we get from God is that he forms it and then he fills it. Second thing that we can find that we learn from God is that he didn't try to do everything all in one day. And I think it's going to be important for you to understand that every time, like I used to feel so bad, like, man, it feels like it's never enough time to call everybody, to do everything, record everything, build everything. I began to realize that I'm never going to be able to go an entire day without disappointing someone, right? If I call everybody back, that means I've disappointed my clients by not doing work. If I spend time with everybody that want to spend time together, well, when do I have time for me? When do I have time for work? Well, if I spend all my time turning up, relaxing, when do I have time to work? If I spend all my time working, when do I have time to relax? If I spend all my time with my clients and with my employees, when do I have time for my family and my friends? I'm learning that I am always going to disappoint someone. The goal then is it's the act of juggling. It's touching one thing at a time, right? To prioritize the day. What is the highest priority for that day, for that moment? To just never allow months to go past. Now, please don't miss what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you intentionally disappoint people. I'm just simply saying that when you prioritize your life and realize that you cannot do everything in one day, there's always going to be someone that's going to prioritize their needs above what you know needs to get done. Please write that down. People will prioritize their need over what you know needs to get done. And when you prioritize what needs to get done and they prioritize their personal needs, chances are someone's going to be disappointed. Because if you drop what needs to be done, well, everything connected to that is disappointed. If you ignore the needs of people, which is always their highest priority, they're going to be disappointed. So what I've learned then is, let's just say if every week you touch each thing that's important to you, what we see in the creation narrative is each day, each thing got God's undivided focus and attention. We don't see him on day 6 when he create man focus on the light. We don't see him on day 7 when he's resting focused on the firmament above and the firmament beneath. We don't see him on day 5 when he's creating focus on what he created in day 2. The goal is to give the thing that is important for that day your undivided attention, to give 100% of you to the focus of the day. This is what I find. I see that everything cannot be done in a day, but it's important to make sure that you don't go a day where nothing's done, right? You either going to set out to rest, you're going to set out to work. Right now, I get, please don't think that I'm talking in absolutes. I get that hey, I'm going to focus on this. This is why I'm big on not necessarily task, but priority. Because when you make a to-do list and a task list, you don't always prioritize the order for them to get done. So you knock out and do things that you look at the end of the day, and it wasn't a productive day. It was a day that you crossed off tasks and said, oh, I'm going to wash my car. Not saying you should have a nasty car. Don't be around here nasty. But I am saying you probably should pay your bills. That's probably a bigger priority. Paying your bills is a bigger priority than washing your car. Okay? So it's understanding what needs you the most for that moment, for that time. So you see the things we're finding. The first thing I find is what he formed it and he filled it. When we form something in our life, we form it first, then we fill it. We don't try to fill our schedule, fill our life, fill our relationships, fill our heart, fill our space with things until we form the definition of what it should be. Second thing is understanding that everything can't be done in a day. It's going to always require that I create balance in my life and a rhythm. Understand? And the third thing I find, which is the most beautiful thing for you to celebrate yourself. Hey, bro, sis, celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. What do I mean? I'm not going to go long on this. I want you to have as much meat as possible, like just the meat of this, write down the notes. But please hear this. The most beautiful thing I find when I'm seeing the book of Genesis, right? I see this rhythm of celebration. Like, what do I mean? God wasn't done creating, but he paused to celebrate himself. I think we could steal something from that. I don't have to be completely done to pause and celebrate what I've accomplished. Man, that's so powerful. I don't have to be completely done to pause and celebrate what I've accomplished. I find that from God, that he created on the first day. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness hovered over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. Then God said, let there be light. And he saw that it was light, and he said that it was good. And the evening and the morning was the first day. We see that God said, let there be light. He paused and said it was good. He wasn't finished because it's only day 1, but he paused to celebrate what he's accomplished. I think that it's important that we pause to celebrate what we've done versus just ignoring the ability and the hard work. And what did it take to complete the work of day 1, right? Your day 1. What did it take to complete the work of your day 1? Before you ignore that and move on, pause to celebrate the work you've accomplished. Pause to celebrate. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a long way away from where I started, right? The work is not finished, but I've accomplished something. And if we don't pause to celebrate our small wins and our big wins, it's easy to always feel as if we've accomplished nothing and discouragement can set in. Like, I think you've got to start gauging your results and your success, not by just time. You've got to gauge it by distance. How far are you from where you started? Well, the fact that you got out of your head, right? You went from idea to actually doing something. The fact that you went from hovering over the face of the deep, using the example of God, to actually touching the earth and saying, let there be light, and light appears, right? So you went from being in your head to producing something. That's something to celebrate. Well, for all of us, if you can accomplish anything, day 1, now you in the gym, you like, listen, I plan on working out every day for 90 days. Well, day one, now when I say celebrate, I don't mean a cheat day. You're going to set yourself back. You're going to be like, hold on, I worked out for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to get some fried chicken and some ice cream. Wait a second. I don't mean that way. But we all have to create our own healthy patterns of pausing to reflect on the work that we've done. The way I see it in the text is as if God gave himself a round of applause. Like, I'm proud of you. Look at what you've accomplished. Well, I will say to you, I'm proud of you. Look at what you've accomplished. You are not done yet. You've got more potential, more to do, more to build. Listen, you got trips to take. Listen, you got trips to take, people to meet, things to do. You got so much more life ahead of you. But you are not the person you were a year ago. You are not the person you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago. You're not even the person you was last month. Like, you're watching this video right now because you want to improve the quality of your life. Well, years ago, you would be watching something. You would be watching something that was ratchet. I'm talking about you be around here right now hitting your homegirl, homeboy. Hey, did you see what happened with such and such? But here's the thing. You might be doing that, but you blended it in with some personal development. So pause and celebrate yourself. You didn't eliminate it, right? You're like the person who's like, and I'm so proud of you, you don't drink soda no more. No, I still drink it. I only drink it once a week. Well, pause and celebrate yourself because you've established some healthy habits and some patterns, and we find that with God that he's not done on day one when he says it's good. He's not done on day two when he pauses and says it's good. He's not done on day three when he pauses and says it's good. He's not done on day four. But it's important that we all take the time to pause, to celebrate. I'm not finished. I'm not done. I'm not perfect. I'm not a completed project. But man, I got to pause and celebrate. Marcus, listen, you need to do this for you. Marcus, you are not perfect, but you are so much better than you were before. And the same to you, you are not perfect, but you are so much better than you were before. And if you don't pause to celebrate that, sometimes depression sinks in, frustration, or you'll give up on yourself because you'll feel like, what's the use? Nothing's working. No, it is working. Celebrate yourself. So a few points I'll give you and then I'll let you go. I think it's important so write this down. Each day you should try to live your life in a way that you start asking yourself, what has to be done? What has to be done? What's the highest priority for the day? What has to be done? What has to be done? What has to be done? What's the thing that in your life every day has to get done? Now, I'm not talking about hygiene. You got to brush your teeth. You don't want to be there. Like right now, I'm drinking some coffee. So I know if I go talk to somebody, I got that. Right? So I'm not discussing hygiene that has to get done every day, but I'm saying, and if we compartmentalize our life, and let's just say how we do on here, if we say from the Bible, what has to get done every day? We need and should spend time with God. Okay, cool. So that's a compartment of my life that has to get done. I have to spend time with God every day. If we say to the boardroom, something in our life that advances our career, our skill, our businesses, our marketing, our sales, our leads, something that helps us and generates revenue for us, right? I'm just giving you an example. You can do yours differently. But what has to get done in critical and key areas of our life. So we start with that. Then we move into now here's the most important question. What has to get done by me? Because just because something has to get done doesn't mean that it has to get done by me. Can I outsource? Can I hire? Can I automate? Can I outsource? Can I hire? Can I automate? Or can I scrap it all together? Everything that has to get done does not have to get done by you. Car got to get washed. Does it have to get done by you? Need food from the grocery store. Do you have to go get it or will Instacart do? Everything that needs to get done doesn't have to be done by you. So it allows you to focus on your highest priority. And last but not least, if we were to write this down in 3 things, when does it need to get done? Because it's not enough to write a list of what has to get done. It's not enough to figure out who needs to do it. But the third thing is, when does it need to be done? Because timing and priority is always going to be critical because you only have 24 hours. The question is, which 24? Will it be day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7? The beauty of what God has done is that there is no difference between Monday through Sunday. They all have the same 24 hours. The only difference is the priority. So when does it have to get done? It's a critical question that you ask yourself, and it allows you to create a rhythm. This allows you to create a rhythm for your life that you can press Control, Alt, Delete. I hope that you've got some value out of tonight of Epic Talks. I want to give you some critical things as we move throughout the year. that you don't come unglued, that you realize you're the most prized possession. And sometimes the very best thing you can do for the people that love you is be good to yourself and love on yourself. All right. I love you. I'm your online coach and pastor, right? In faith and business. I cannot wait to continue to connect with you. If I can serve you and help you in any way, you can find ways that we can connect in the description. Would love to have you as a part of the Epic Nation, as you see on the hat, empowering people and inspiring change. We are an online church and community. What does that mean? There is no physical building. It allows us the opportunity. Church just means the gathering together of people for purpose. So we gather together for what purpose? To empower you for your purpose and inspire you to change and change the people around you. So we are Epic. So educational resources we provide. We provide social initiatives to be able to give back. And we do this globally around the world. And we'd love to invite you to be a part of it. So you can learn, you can give back, you can grow in all areas of your life. I'll see you next week for Epic Talks. Have a phenomenal night.